Like I would be competing with everyone else. That's like.
Here it is! Here it is! The voice of Steve!
Sett is the most manly champion in League of Legends. His massive muscles are only matched by the size of his confidence, and his playstyle is that of a true pit fighter, someone who looks forward to every single fight. Today, we talk to the #1 Sett one trick, how he was able to hit Challenger 7 times in 7 seasons, and how he doesn't just play his champion, but he tries to become his champion.
Hey guys, my name is Autolykus and I one-trick Sett. I've been playing him since release and I currently have over 4 million mastery points on him. I've been Challenger for 7 seasons now, and 3 of those seasons I've gotten Challenger just playing Sett. I've also won tournaments such as Twitch Rivals. I've peaked rank 1 playing Malzahar. Sett has one of the strongest early games in the game. The reason being is because he can out-stat check mostly everyone in the game. He can always just out-brawl anybody. But also if you ever take an even trade with somebody, your passive also includes regenning based on missing health. So if you ever take an even trade, or even just lost a little bit more HP than them, you're still winning the trade. You'll out-sustain them. Now, one thing I like to do is I never leash my jungler. I stopped leashing my jungler this season. The reason being is because you can just sit in a bush and just cheese someone. Start auto-attacking them like crazy, and then as they're running away, you just hit them with the W, and you've all of a sudden gotten an advantage over your laner. You can kick off most champions off the first 3 minions. What you want to do is position yourself between the ranged minions and the champion. And most champions aren't going to walk up to you. They're just going to lose the 3 minions, and all of a sudden you got a 3 minion XP lead on them. You want to play extremely aggressive. Most trades start with you queuing towards your opponent and ing them between a minion and themselves, because when you do that, they get stunned for 1 full second. So usually that's how all trades go. If you can ever walk up to them and not queue as your initial start, you can rotate your auto attacks with your queue. You can walk up, E them, auto attack, queue, and then you'll get 4 auto attacks off pretty quickly. If they're dumb enough to disrespect how strong you are and they walk into melee range, the only champions that really do that are champions with a stun or a dash. No one's ever going to walk into your melee range, but if they do, then you essentially they die. They walk up to you in melee range, you auto attack, Q, and you just keep on fighting them until they realize, oh, I don't win this matchup, and then as they run away, you hit them with the E. If you guys remember in math class, the Pythagorean theorem, Sett's E is a rectangle, and if you cut that in half diagonally, you do get 2 right triangles. And if you remember, the longest side of the right triangle is the hypotenuse. What you want to do is whenever you use your E to get max range, this would be the difference between me and lower elo players, that people are always shocked by my E grabbing them or stunning them, because I always get it off the very tip of the diagonal. So it feels as if like the range is twice the range. Also, every game I always take ignite. Like I said, Sett is an extremely aggressive champion, so the way I try to get my leads off are based off of kills and plates, because Sett can take towers extremely fast with your Q. The only real threat to you, usually the champions that counter you are champions with a stun and a dash. Examples like Jax or Renekton. Besides those champions and those kinds of champions, the only real threat is the jungler, to be honest. Yeah, Sett's extremely immobile, so the biggest threat is the jungle ganking you. If the enemy jungle is a melee champion though, you do have the ability to fight them off. Like if a Xin Zhao ganks you and you're against another melee champion, it's very easy to turn the tide. You do have the option of 1v2 a lot of people, unless they have multiple dashes. If from earlier you're slow pushing with the giant wave stacked and then someone decides to gank you, you can literally sit in the wave and fight them off. Usually the way that it goes is you fight in the wave, you position yourself between the enemy jungler and your laner. You decide on who's the weaker one and who doesn't have a flash or a dash. You solely focus on them, you stun them, you start auto attacking them. After that, you usually can just demolish either the laner or the jungler, whoever survives. You can just demolish them in a 1v1 brawl. And whenever you do take a trade, you always want to take a trade when your W's up. You don't ever want to take a trade with your W being down. You never want to. The only way a jungler can really ruin your lane is if they're ganking you with your W down. If it's ever down and the jungle is ganking you, you're not going to make it out. The only way you can make it out from jungle ganks is when you hit 6. Laners behind you, if one of them is out of position, that's when you can use your ultimate to escape. That's your only real way of escaping. Like I said, Sett is extremely immobile. You can tank the wave. You can tank the tower shots a few shots to build up your grit on your W and then clear the wave a lot faster. But yeah, you have to know where the jungler is at, or else you're gonna tank like multiple tower shots, pressure W, and then the jungler is gonna come and kill you.
Sett's playstyle demands that you use his lead. While most enemy players will play safe and passive by sitting near their towers, Autolykus forces them to fight by diving them. Here he dives Olaf with full HP and his full combo. He always makes sure to ult the enemy back into the tower so that they cannot escape from the following W even though his E is down. It doesn't matter if they're full HP, it doesn't matter if they're under their tower. You are going to go and fight them. Basically, you're a gym bro who's constantly got roid rage. Not only does Autolykus play Sett, he plays League of Legends standing up at all times, because he's always ready for a real fight in case one breaks out. When it comes to snowballing on a champion like Sett, a lot of players can struggle against tanky champions to gain a lead. Most Sett players will buy Blade of the Ruined King in order to shred tanks with the item's passive ability, but Autolykus actually doesn't like it.
And everyone thinks you build Blade of the Ruined King. Everyone tells me they think you build Blade of the Ruined King for tanks. I don't build Blade of the Ruined King against tanks. I find it useless. The only tank I will build the Blade of the Ruined King for will be tanks that are known for going hard still first item, like Scion. But most tanks can just counter you by building a Warden's Mail, a Plated Steel Caps, or a Bramble, or they'll just build all 3. It feels like it completely negates the item completely. You can't be the engage most of the time if you go Blade, because the thing is, if you go Blade, you have to snowball. Like, you have to get an early lead, or else you're going to be squishy most of the game. One of the main purposes of Sett is engaging, and you can't really engage if you're extremely squishy. So if the enemy team has extremely mobile champions, a lot of ranged champions that have dashes and they're kiting you, usually what I like to do is go Dead Man's Plate second. In League of Legends, there's a mobility creep in the game, I'd say, and Sett definitely suffers from that, with everyone having dashes. It's the reason why spacing and positioning is extremely important.
Blade of the Ruined King is really good into champions that also like to 1v1. Champions like Fiora and Camille are ideal for this item. This is because you're buying an item whose specific purpose is to also win 1v1s. In these kinds of matchups, if they buy a 1v1 item and you as the Sett don't buy a 1v1 item, then you could potentially lose a 1v1 even if you have a lead. These duelist champions also tend to have an ability in their kit that allows them to either dodge or negate Sett's W. The way you want to win these brawls is to use your W for shielding and baiting out key abilities, not for damage. You will still simply outstat them with Blade of the Ruined King by just auto-attacking them in the end. When you're ahead in a normal bruiser or tank matchup, you want to have tankier items like Gore Drinker. When you're tanky, you're harder to kill, which means your shutdown gold will be harder to take. Despite the fact that you're buying tankier items, you'll still be out damaging everyone, and you'll still be ahead in levels, so you're going to be pounding everyone just because you're Sett. But what about when you're not ahead? What happens to the number 1 Sett when he doesn't get a lead?
The nice thing about Sett is, even when you get behind, you'll be extremely useful. You have your ultimate that will always be extremely impactful in the game. But usually when I get behind, like really far behind, I usually build more tanky. I'll go Radiant Virtue. And Radiant Virtue synergizes very well with Sett. Sett scales very well off HP. You're not going to die instantly, so you'll always get the full value of healing. If my opponent is freezing the lane and I can't break it, usually I'll just run mid lane and look for a play that way. Run behind the enemy mid laner and ult them to your mid laner, and then wait for objectives like Dragon to come up, and then I'll just group with my team and just focus on keeping my teammates alive at that point. I'm not looking to carry at that point. You don't have dashes, but you have many ways to turn a dive. You have your giant W shield that can hit multiple people, your E stun that if you just stun one or both of them, all of a sudden one dies, the second one's flashing out, running away, they both die, and then all of a sudden you've just won the game because the enemy jungle and the top laner are both too tilted on how they ruined the dive. What I usually do, if I'm pretty ahead, I'll try to split push bot lane when Baron's up, and I'll try to absorb the pressure of the enemy team by them sending. The thing is, if I'm ahead, no one's going to be able to 1v1 me usually. I'll out-duel everybody, out-brawl anybody. Now, the thing about Sett, though, is it's the same thing when you ult into team fights. When Sett goes into a fight, or if he goes into a brawl with someone, you never make it out. Like, you're extremely immobile. When you go into a duel, you're gonna fight it out because there's no real way of you escaping. You have your ultimate, but even then, if it's late game, people have low cooldowns, people have a bunch of dashes, they will chase you down the entire lane. Late game, your W becomes massive. You can do like 3k true damage to the entire team, but a lot of the characters in the game have multiple dashes, multiple speed ups, or even just a simple flash. If they avoid that big W, that's when W's become extremely important later in the game. You miss that, it's like I said, you're not going to get out of the fight. You miss it on them, they run you down essentially. If I'm not split pushing, I am playing for objectives and I'm running around the Baron waiting for my team, and I'm trying to look for an engage.
The general idea behind Sett in a team fight is to brawl whoever you can in a 1v1 situation and then go for a big engage when you see an opportunity. Here, Sett arrives late to the fight, and his team's already about to die. After demolishing the enemy top laner, he chases the Nunu and flashes to ult the Janna to kill the Nunu and create space between him and Fizz. He then has a short time to be able to 1v1 the Janna, and eventually kills her along with Fizz. This is what Sett excels at in teamfights, short brawls while looking for opportunities to ult into a lot of people.
Reason that I like Sett so much is because he has a very simple lore, but it's extremely relatable. You know, he started from nothing. He loves his mother, obviously. He cares for his mother. He just wants to make his mother proud. We all obviously want to do. And by using his own two hands, he made it all the way becoming the boss. He literally used his two hands to go into the pit as a nobody and just grinded it out and became the boss. His success is purely like through determination and hard work. That's how I live my life when it comes to streaming, being the best at Sett. He's flashy in his simpleness. Like, he's just intimidating with his presence. All of his abilities are extremely satisfying to press. When you press your Q, you feel like you're punching your opponent in the face. You know? You're getting that anime vibe of just like spam punching. If you watch JoJo, feels like you're throwing 1,000 punches at your opponent feeling by using your Q. Your W obviously feels like you're One Punch Man. You're the protagonist in an anime and you're about to unleash your you know, your giant punch. Your E, obviously just stunning your ear, literally smashing heads together with your E. You feel it when you press your champion's abilities. And then your ultimate, obviously, you just you're body slamming someone off the top rope into the enemy team, and the enemy, all your opponents are literally running away, trying to avoid the destruction you're about to put upon them. You, me, 1v1, let's brawl. Let's just duke it out. There's nothing cowardly about it. And you know, he gives his opponents a handicap too. It's like, you can have magic, you can have weapons, yada yada. I'm just gonna use my fist, you know. It's that confidence as well, you know. When you play Sett, you have to have confidence. You decide when to engage. You tell your team, I'm the boss, follow me. Everyone's behind you. I'm the leader. I'm going in, okay? And they have to follow you. But I do believe the champions you play in this game, usually it's someone that you aspire to be or someone that you see yourself in. So hey, if you see yourself as a confident boss, then yeah, you should definitely play Sett. Or you could be a cowardly range top player. I don't know, you know, either or, you know.